Hello, guys. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys. I received this message a couple of days ago. Then I had to ask one of our admins to give us a translation of this confession. The translation reads like this: Hello, Brother Nashi. How are you? Please, can you hide my identity and please post my own story? My story is a confession, but at the same time, I am here looking for help. To be more specific, I am looking for deliverance. I am looking for spiritual deliverance. Brother Nashi, please forgive me, but I cannot mention the exact place where all of these things took place because I am afraid that these people that made me to do all of these rituals, if they hear me mentioning the name of that place, maybe something bad would happen to me. And I am afraid that if I mention the name of that place, maybe the people that I stay with in the same community, maybe they will come and burn my house to the ground. But the place where we are staying, it is a place where people are still building their houses. So in the past 6 months, I have managed to buy three residential stands, and in the last residential stand that I bought, me and my wife, we actually bought a fully built house because we finally came to the conclusion that now we have a lot of money, and all of this money that we have, me and my wife, it is just coming from nowhere. So we decided to spend all of that money on a newly built house. So in the community where I am staying, I am someone who is very active in that community. A lot of people consider me as the community leader because whenever people from the government or any organization that will be wanting to do any projects in our small community, they usually come to my house first for any kind of consultation before they can address the rest of their community. It doesn't matter if these are political figures or if these are just companies that are looking to donate anything in our community. First, they come to my house because in the community where I am staying, everyone just respects me like that. I am a natural born leader. So it happened, Brother Nashi, that at our house, they came a man and a woman. They were driving two cars, and when those people parked their big cars at our house, we were surprised because from their appearance, these people seemed to be wealthy people. Even the cars that they were driving, they were big cars. So we spoke with them, and the wife to that man said that they were donors and they were looking to donate something big in our community. And we were so excited. But when they told us that they were donors, by the time that they left, me and my wife, we went indoors because we didn't want our neighbors to ask us a lot of questions, because as we were speaking with those people, it seemed as if they wanted to donate something that was going to be so big and a lot of money was going to be involved. So we wanted to be in the middle of that project. We thought that finally this was going to be our opportunity to get out of poverty. Then me and my wife, we started to dissect the whole discussion that had happened between us and those two wealthy people. But as me and my wife were busy discussing, I think that is when greed entered into our heart, because one of our neighbors came and then knocked at our door. And we had to lie to our neighbor that these were not random people, but they were actually one of our wealthy relatives. That is how we started to lie to the whole community whenever those people would come to our house, so that we can have more discussions about this donation, this big donation that they wanted to give to the community. But the funny part about it, they never told us what this donation was all about. They kept on telling us about this donation, and we kept on lying to the whole community that these were not donors, but they were our close relatives, and they would be coming to pay us a visit. Each and every time, whenever those people would come in their cars will be loaded with groceries for us to eat. And what we used to do is that whenever those people would come with all of their groceries, we will end up selling some of those groceries that they would come to donate to us. And we started pretending as if we had opened up a small shop at our house. But whenever those people would come back to visit us again, we would quickly close that small shop so that they cannot see that the grocery that they were giving us, we were then reselling all of that grocery. Because the grocery that they were giving us, it was just too much. We could not even finish it up in a single month. So these people, whenever they would come to pay us a visit, they always came with their two big cars. The woman was always driving a big car in front, and her car will be loaded with groceries, and her husband will always be driving right behind her. His car also will be loaded with groceries. Brother Nashi, I don't even know if God will ever forgive me for all the sins that these two people made me and my wife to commit, because the more that me and my wife got used to these two wealthy people, the more that we started to discuss about the donation that they wanted to give to our community. One day, they told us that they wanted to bless us. The next thing that happened, Brother Nash, is that we saw one of those trucks, these trucks that goes around drilling boreholes. It just came to our place, and those people then called us, and they told us that we should not be afraid because they had already paid for the money for those people to drill the borehole for us. And as we are speaking, Brother Nashi, in the community where we are staying, water is very difficult to get. So everyone in our community, they come to our house so that they can buy water. But by the time that those two people blessed us with that borehole that they drilled at our house, me and my wife, we were already suspecting that those people, they were here to give us ritual money, but because of poverty, we just played along. We wanted to see what these people wanted to give us, but deep down in our hearts, even though we never discussed it, we knew that the path that we were taking, in the end, we were going to become ritualist. But when we were looking at those two wealthy people, we wanted to be like them. After that pole had been drilled at our house, those two people, they never came at our house again. The only thing that they did one day is that they called us and they said that we should go at this other place so that they can come and pick us up. We went there, and within a short period of time, we saw a car coming. It was those people, and the wife was driving in front, and we got into her car. Then she took us back to her place. And when we went to their place, that is when they told us that they were pastors. And when those people told us that they were pastors, the reason why we were shocked, because from day one, when they had came to our place, they had never mentioned anything about God. They had never even mentioned anything about them being pastors. How can someone forget that they are a pastor? And we asked them, why have you never told us that you are actually pastors? And we asked them, which congregation do they lead? That is where this whole thing is so confusing to me, because me and my wife, we remember that those two pastors told us that the head office of their church is in America. They even mentioned the name of the church, but we don't even know how we forgot the name of that church. But I am pretty sure that as we were sitting in their house, those two pastors told us the head office of their church, which was in America. So from that day, Brother Nashi, that is when they started to teach us a lot of these rituals. And from that day that we went to their house, those two people just disappeared. The last time that we saw those two pastors, they came to our house. And when they came to our house, this was on Christmas Day. This last Christmas, Brother Nashi, last year, this is when this whole thing happened. They came to our house on Christmas Day, and it was in the evening, almost midnight, Brother Nashi. It was so dark. I still remember that it was very dark. And when they came, I actually asked them if they were willing to come back the very next morning, because they said that they wanted to inspect the borehole. They wanted to see that if those people that had came to drill the borehole, if they had done everything in a proper manner. But I told those two pastors that it was better if they would come back tomorrow so that we can see everything, because it was really dark. And they said, no, let us all light our torches on our phone. That is what we did. So we went there to the bowl and we all switched on our torches on our phones. Then they started to inspect the bowl. As we were standing by that bowl, that is when the husband to that woman handed me something. And when I accepted whatever he was giving me, I noticed that the creature that he had handed me, it was breathing. This really shocked me, Brother Nashi. When I looked at that thing, it was a lizard. It was quite a big lizard, Brother Nashi. And he gave me an instruction. He said, place this lizard on top of the tap. I was really scared, and I took that lizard which he had given unto me, then I placed it on the tap. But Brother Nashi, even up until today, it still confuses me, because this lizard, it was quite big, but when I placed it on the tap, it squeezed itself until it could fit inside the tap. How this thing happened, I don't even know. It was just witchcraft. So that pastor's wife then took out a bottle. Then he said, this water that I am about to give you, it is called holy water. So she poured that holy water in a glass. Then she handed us that water glass, and she told us that we had to drink that holy water. 2 days after we had drank that holy water, that is when our firstborn died, Brother Nashi. Our firstborn suddenly fell ill, and we had to rush her to the hospital. Then she just died whilst she was at the hospital. When our daughter died, Brother Nashi, it was so stressful. It was quite a stressful situation, because we didn't have any money in the house. And when our daughter was in the mortuary, I was just going around asking for money, and I was just begging for money so that we can arrange the funeral for my daughter. But there was no one who was willing to give me any money. That is when suddenly my wife called me. And when my wife called me, I was in town. I was just walking around and I was so stressed. I didn't even know where to go. When my wife called me, she told me that there was this other thought that had crossed her mind, to open our child's school bag. And after my wife had opened our daughter's school bag, that is when she saw that our daughter's school bag, it was loaded with brand new US dollar notes. And when she told me that she had found money in our daughter's school bag, I told her that she had to hide all of that money, because as far as I knew, when our daughter passed away, we only had $1 in the house. Previously, before our daughter fell sick, we had about $5 in the house. But when our daughter fell sick, we used all of that money to go to the hospital with our daughter. And when we came back home, we only had $1 left, and we didn't know what to do. And when our daughter died, we didn't know where we were going to get all of this money. When my wife called me, and when she told me that our daughter's school bag was loaded with money, I immediately told her to hide all of that money, and no one should ever come across all of that money. And we were going to use all of that money so that we can arrange the funeral and the burial of our daughter. I then told my wife to take some of that money that she had found in our daughter's school bag, and she should give that money to one of her youngest brother, my brother-in-law. Then my brother-in-law can come to town with that money. But I told my wife to lie to her younger brother that this money that she was giving to him, it was part of our savings, because we wanted our daughter to go to boarding school this year if she had managed to pass her exams. So This is what my brother-in-law believed, and we told him that the reason why we didn't want everyone to know that we had a little bit of money saved in the house, because we were afraid that people would not assist us with the arrangement of the funeral and the burial of our daughter. We wanted people to contribute towards our daughter's funeral. Brother Nashi, that is when my brother-in-law came to town, then gave me the money. Immediately, I went to this other funeral home, then I paid the money, then I bought a casket for my daughter, and it was a beautiful casket, and I actually bought a cow, and the cow was slaughtered. That is the meat that we ate at my daughter's funeral. After everyone had finally returned to their houses, when me and my wife and my other kids were left, we took our daughter's school bag and we locked ourselves in our bedroom. It was only me and my wife. Then we started counting all of that money. In total, Brother Nashi, the money that we counted, it was 12,600 US dollars. Then we arranged that we had to buy a car. Me and my wife, we bought our first car from that money that we had found in our daughter's school bags. But what is bothering us, Brother Nashi, is that ever since the death of our daughter, we have tried to do a lot of business. But all of these businesses that we have tried, none of them seems to be working, until me and my wife, we decided that we are not going to invest any of our money in these businesses, because they all resulted in a loss. Me and my wife, whenever we sit down to have a discussion, we can see that when those two pastors were still visiting us here and there, even though it seemed as if they were joking with us, but they were actually teaching us how to do all of these rituals, because there was this other particular point in time when they told us that if you ever see that anything is going wrong in your life, you need to go back to the grave of the first person that would have died after you have performed all of these rituals. But make sure that when you go to that grave, you must have a bottle of fresh milk and just go and water their grave. They told us that we had to do these rituals twice a month. As we are speaking right now, Brother Nashi, me and my wife, we have stress, because as we are entering into the raining season, the place where we buried our daughter, it is a place that is called Mbuzi, and everyone that knows those graveyard that is called Mbuzi, when it is raining season, that place is quite scary, because when it is raining hard, the grass there, it grows so big that it covers all of the graves. The place is so scary that you can't even step your foot into that graveyard, because the grass will be so big and a lot of snake. That place is so notorious of having a lot of poisonous snakes. So we are so stressed, because those people told us that twice a month we have to go to our daughter's grave and we have to water her grave with fresh milk. They told us that we should never make the mistake of watering a grave with sour milk. Those two pastors, when they came to inspect that bowl that they had donated to us, they just said something that was so funny. At that time, it was kind of funny, but now that we know we are ritualists, we now know that it was actually a sacrifice that they were telling us to do. They told us that if anyone comes to our house and if they ask for water, because we sell this water that comes out of our borehole, they say that we should write that person's name down and we should write the amount of money that they will be owing us. And on the day that the person would come to give us the money, we should not get into the house with the money. But what we should do is that we should look for a stone. Then we should place the money on the ground. Then we should place a stone on top of the money. The money is supposed to sleep outside, but the next morning, early in the morning, before the sun is risen up, one of us, either me or my wife, should get out of the house and go and pick up that money. But when you are walking away from the place where you would have previously placed that money, You should walk backwards until you are indoors. That is the ritual that they gave to us. They said that if anyone owes us any money, and if that person comes to pay back the money, this is what we are supposed to do. Then they gave us another ritual. They told us that each and every evening we have to take a metal cup, and we should place that metal cup just close to that tap where that lizard squeezed itself until it had gotten inside that tap. But the thing that confuses me and my wife each and every morning when we wake up, so that we can go and collect that silver cup before people have woken up, each and every morning when we go to collect that cup, we would see that the metal cup will be filled with water. But this water, it will be not like normal water. It will be more like milk, as if it will be milk mixed with water. We should go and sprinkle all of that water at our gate, exactly at the place where people enter into our yard. Brother Nashi, this is my own confession. Please, if there is anyone who is willing to assist me and my wife, please, they can get in contact with you. As for now, I am so prepared to go back into poverty. But if there is anyone who is willing to assist us, please let this thing be done in private, because in the community where I am staying, everyone respects me and my wife because I am more like a community leader in our community. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received a couple of days ago. Then I had to ask one of our admins to give us a translation. Strange things do happen in this world. Let us meet again in the following episode.